Hello, my name is Leah Zurmehly, and I am a student at Western Kentucky University enrolled in the course SEC 352, Planning for Student Diversity for the Spring 2015 semester. Today I will be analyzing the textbook titled Marketing Essentials produced by Glencoe. The textbook is used as a Principles of Marketing textbook designed for ninth graders. This textbook is specialized as the DECA Connection version. DECA, which is an association of marketing students, is the international student organization that allows students who are interested in marketing to compete at the regional, state, national, and international level. They do something with exploring careers related to marketing. The DECA Connection version of this textbook draws connections for the students that can help them with their DECA competition area. I will be analyzing Unit 6 in this textbook, which focuses on promotion. There are 4 chapters in this unit that are each about 10 to 15 pages long. Within each chapter, there are 2 sections. I will be analyzing the textbook first based on 3 state standards. I have chosen to use the COSA standards, which stands for Kentucky Occupational Skills Standard Assessment. COSA is an assessment that is taken by seniors in a program where the COSA is available. COSA tests are available for most career and technical education career pathways, including marketing. If a student does well on the COSA, they are said to be career and tech ready in that career pathway. The first standard that I will be assessing based on the textbook analysis is, does the text identify the elements of the promotional mix? This is based on the concept that there are 4 areas a part of the promotional mix. These include advertising, publicity, sales promotion, and personal selling. In order to determine if this objective was met, I asked the question, what % of the chapter objectives focus on at least one element of the promotional mix? Here is what I found. After collecting the data, I concluded that 69% of the objectives focused on at least one element of the promotional mix, and 31% did not focus directly on one element of the promotional mix. Therefore, this standard was met. The next standard that I focused on stated that the text should allow the student an opportunity to perform basic and higher level math operation of various types. To see if this text met this standard, I asked the question, what % of questions under the Building Skills section at the end of the chapter involves mathematical skill development? I collected the data I needed to determine if the standard was met by counting how many of the building skills questions at the end of the chapter focused on developing math skills. In each of the chapter, there were 3 questions that focused on building skills area. In each chapter, one of the 3 questions focused on applying math skills to the topic in the chapter. 33% of the questions developed skills related to math, while 66% developed skills other than math. But because there was at least one math question in each chapter, I concluded that this standard was met. The last standard that I evaluated in the text, according to the COSA standards, focused on helping students recognize the relationship between customer and client satisfaction and the company's success. In each of the chapters, there was a case study presented that talked about how the material in the chapter was being seen in the real world through the concepts and ideas being utilized by actual companies. In order to determine if the standard was met, I asked the question, how many of the chapter case studies focus on customer satisfaction? After collecting the data, I found that 3 of the chapters, which included 17, 18, and 19, focused on customer satisfaction and its importance to the business's overall success. There was only one chapter, which was chapter 19, that did not focus on customer satisfaction. Based on this information, I concluded that the standard was met. After completing an analysis of the textbook according to its ability to meet select COSA standards, I would say that the textbook would be effective to use in a Principles of Marketing course designated for 9th graders because it met all 3 of the selected standards that I chose to evaluate. Another way that I evaluated the text Marketing Essentials was by examining 3 dimensions of diversity. These dimensions included geographical location, gender, and class. The first diversity dimension that I looked at was geographical location. In order to determine if this textbook represented a variety of geographical locations, I asked the question, to what degree are the global market inserts and other figures in the chapter representative of an array of geographical locations? I went through the chapter, and based on the assumption that the geographical location was stated directly in the text, I determined that some continents were more represented than others throughout the text. Here is a world map that represents the geographical locations represented in Unit 6 of the text. Each dot represents a location that was displayed throughout the readings. As you can see, there were some continents that had more representation than others. There were 4 continents that were represented and 3 that were not. Based on the data I collected, I concluded that the textbook was representative of a wide variety of geographical locations, both within the United States and on the globe. Many states were discussed throughout the unit, and more than half of the continents were represented. The next aspect of diversity that I examined to evaluate the text was class. I used the careers and marketing insert at the end of each chapter to examine class and how it was represented. I assumed that if a career highlighted required just a high school diploma or little to no education beyond high school, the individual could be assumed to be in the lower class. If the career highlighted required a college degree, then the individual would be assumed as a member of the middle class, and if the career is one that was limited and higher up in power, then the individual could be assumed to be a part of the upper class. After collecting the data, it could be assumed that there was a representative in each of the careers. Chapter displays someone that was a part of the only class that was represented was the middle class. I compared the percentages of the 3 main classes to the percentages of class represented in the United States and found that this was not met. The percentages were not comparable, which means that the textbook was not diverse in its representation of the 3 main social classes that currently exist today in the United States. The last diversity dimension that I examined to analyze the text was dimension of gender. In order to determine if an appropriate percentages of males and females were represented in the text for the United States population, I examined and counted the number of females and males shown in the graphics under the DECA connection chapter at the end of the chapters in this unit. I made some assumptions about characteristics of females and males. A female was assumed to have longer hair, smaller frames, and distinct facial features. Males were assumed based on shorter hair, more broad body figures, and distinct facial features. In order to analyze the text according to gender representation, I asked the question, to what degree is an accurate representation of the U.S. population of males and females presented in the text based on the number of females and males displayed in the DECA connections section of the text that appears at the end of each chapter? After collecting the data, I found that in the text, 62% of the people represented were female and 38% were male. I compared this data to the gender percentage in 2012 according to the U.S. Census and found that the percentages of males to females was not comparable to the U.S. population, and therefore this textbook was not diverse based on the dimension of gender. So in conclusion, the textbook was not overall diverse based on the 3 dimensions of diversity that I examined. It was diverse based on geographical location, but was not diverse according to both class and gender. The last way that I analyzed the text was by using the Lexile measurement. This was a measurement tool designed to tell if a book is appropriate for a certain grade level. The text which I evaluated, which was Marketing Essentials, received a score of 960. The average score for a textbook for a 9th grade level textbook should be between 855 and 1,165. This textbook would be appropriate for a course assuming that the students were from the United States and perhaps were not English as a second language students. The score was on the lower end of the spectrum, which means that there could be some students who struggle to read this if their reading skills are at or below ninth grade level.